Ahoy, me matey! Welcome aboard the RSS commentary! RSS Commentary is an indie news organization. You can find us on the web at rsscommentary.com, where you can find all of our videos. Pretty soon you're going to see a new social network here, where you can watch our videos and you can actually add your own RSS commentary to your website. So this show is new to me. Like, I've done a different format, so forgive me if I have if I don't have everything ready. What's been going on in the news? Afghanistan fell from the old man Biden blundering everything up because he's too focused on open borders and critical race and gender theory. He's more interested in importing in massive amounts of immigrants to replace the aging population of the liberals with low birth rates in the big cities, in comparison to the conservatives who have a normal birth rate. And he's too focused on pushing woke LGBTQ CBDFG HIJK LMNOP plus CIA gender identities on Muslims and Christians. He seems to have bungled everything up. And it's probably because Kamala Harris is wearing the pants in the White House. Because if you're not familiar, Joe Biden, he likes to streak around the White House. He's been known to grope women too. So we like to call him the streaking White House groper. So there's absolutely no question now at this point in time who is wearing the pants in the White House. Because obviously it's not Joe Biden. Right? If Joe Biden was actually wearing the pants in the White House, then the emperor would probably be wearing some clothes. Probably wouldn't be this insane guy walking around like a lunatic thinking he's got some magic robes that make him invisible, and then everybody around him is just sucking up to the people above them so that they could get more power and rise up to the top. And everybody's too afraid to say anything because they don't want to get their head chopped off. So they just placate to this insane dude's delusions about having a magic robe. That's really what's going on with the Democrats, because they think that they can get away with these policies because the Democrats started the KKK and they opposed women's suffrage, and they were homophobes and transphobes forever and since their beginning. And they started the Vietnam and Korean Wars. They were behind Jim Crow. They were behind eugenics, behind forced sterilization. So of course they have to do a 180 so that they could wash their hands free of all of these bad things that they've done, blame them on the Republicans so that they could maintain their control of power, because they've had control over the power in Washington, D.C. for so long. They've had power over in Washington, D.C. for so long that they know they have control over all of the levers of power in Washington, D.C. So this is why it's so swampy over there, is because Washington, D.C., there's a lot of black people who are poor, a lot of crack cocaine, a lot of heroin, a lot of hookers, a lot of corrupt politicians, a lot of lobbyists who are paying for large amounts of cocaine and hookers. And this makes a swamp because Washington, D.C. doesn't leave. It's not like the White House is going to pick up and move to another city. It's not like the black people are all of a sudden going to magically wake up and start getting good grades in these failed public schools. It's not going to happen. You're going to have to put up with reality. And so what they do is they divert blame by saying that it's the Republicans who are the racist ones, that they're the ones that are the homophobes, and they don't support equal rights. They're trying to take away your voting rights. And the reason why is because Democrats have always been the ones taking away the black people's voting rights. It was the Democrats that started the war on drugs. It wasn't Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon coined the term the war on drugs. So, and then right after Lyndon B. Johnson took over, after JFK got assassinated, they brought us into Vietnam on false pretenses. So, if you want to talk about like corrupt military-industrial complex, look no further than the swamp. Look at the critical race theories that have been adopted by the defense contractors, and you're going to see these people are basically justifying not hiring black people because of their grades, which is perfectly justified in a meritocracy. And they are pushing critical race and gender theory, because when they do this, you can't blame them. You can't say these people are being racist because they are being anti-racist, right? So why are the Democrats pushing white feminism, which is the racist form of feminism that puts the white woman above everyone else? They're doing it because they oppose women's suffrage. Why do Democrats push mask mandates and forced vaccines? Because they used to be into forced sterilization and eugenics, right? They've always been against natural selection. They want artificial selection. They want their party to be able to select who lives and who dies instead of God. You can't put your life in God's hands. The Democrats have a monopoly on that, right? And they want to tax the churches because they say that you're engaging in politics, that because the church is against the murder of unborn babies, that they should pay taxes because they're like for profit, because there's like churches where there's like people who are wealthy at the church. So this is kind of the way it goes. It's like a perversion. Democrats are very anti-family, and yet they push feminism. And so they're trying to push this stuff in Afghanistan, where the birth rate is very, very high, and the support for Sharia. I mean, you're talking like, I haven't looked it up. The average birth rate of Muslims around the world is 3.4. Last I looked it up. And in a lot of the countries, it's 5 or 6 children per woman. And so, like, they put burqas over their women. They, like, beat them. And they don't let them go to school. And they rape them. But if you criticize their prophet for having a child bride and for having slaves, the liberals are going to say you're an Islamophobe. So this is kind of the way that they operate, is they do bad things, and then when you bring up all of the bad things they do, they blame you for it. They say you're the bad person. They're saying this is happening because of the hateful people. If it wasn't for these white nationalists, alt-right far-right, white supreme pizzas, then we would have this kumbaya moment where everybody's singing around, holding around the campfire, holding hands, singing kumbaya, and there ain't nobody that's gonna come up behind me and circle jerk me and take my wallet, right? I ain't a fool. I've been to enough rave parties and music festivals to know that I'll get the circle jerk and the pickpocket if I'm not careful in these kumbaya sessions around the campfire. Like, it happens, bro. It happens, man. I've had my coat stolen so many times from these parties, it's not even funny. I've been robbed. I've had people follow me around the party, waiting for me to fall asleep so they could steal my stuff. Multiple times. These liberals act like they're cool, but then they harbor wolves. You'll notice at these rave parties, they all act really nice, and like they're like better than you. Like this makes them superior to you when they act like this, and then they get stressed out at some party, and like they've been doing too many drugs, and then all of a sudden they like turn into a monster. It's like they're like stressing out on everybody, making big deals about little things. It's like they turn into their parents after a little while. You know, enough drugs, and then like they're like, most of them don't really they're all into the mainstream media. They don't look into it. And so these are the people pushing these policies. They don't look into them. And the Muslims are like, it just doesn't work because you're fighting like the people. Like, the Muslims there are down with the misogynies. Like, the women want the burqa, bro. I don't know what it is, but they want the burqa. And it's like the liberals are so bad. These policies are such a disaster. The liberals' birth rate is so low that their people are dying off. The conservatives aren't dying off. The first generation Latinos might be voting for the Democrats, but the second generation Latinos are voting for the conservatives. They like the country out there. They're like country people, right? Like, they're moving out here to get that country life. They don't really want that booty city life where they're always poor, at the being like a second-class citizen, being used for cheap labor. Like, that's not the American dream. So the Democrats, they think they're it's like their policies are all based on demographics. Like, their demographic is like, okay, they started the Korean War and the Vietnam War, so they got to do the opposite of that, because if their party knew that they did that, then they wouldn't vote for them. So they got to pull out, and say it was the Republicans' fault. Biden at that press conference last week was like, yeah, I take full responsibility for the airport bombing in Kabul, but it was Trump's fault. It's like, it makes you want to strangle the guy. Don't do that. That's not cool. But their followers don't know that. They don't know that what he said, they don't know which thing to say. So the news organizations, they don't correct their fact check. Like, okay, so they want the clickbait. They don't care if they've told fake news, because it happens. Okay, I'm a journalist. I'm running this show. I've been doing it for a while. Even though my view count died because I got suspended. I'm like, Twitter ban. Like, I've been banned on Twitter for criticizing Mohammed for having a child bride. And I also criticized Kamala Harris. I said she looks like a hyena, and she slept her way up to the top. She's a slut, a hussy, and a homewrecker. And then they banned me on that. And then, it's been like a year or something, so I can't go on there. And then, what am I saying? Something about Kamala Harris being a homewrecker because she slept with Willie Brown. She cheated on him. He's the Democrat kingmaker, former mayor of San Francisco. that anoints all of the Democratic leaders in the corrupt state of California, most people are just clueless to what's going on in California. Absolutely clueless. They think, oh yeah, California is like the model of liberalism. This is what you want. No, man. No, they're spending $74,000 per homeless person in California. $74,000 because the corrupt cronies in the epicenter of corruption, the swamp, San Francisco, they got these people that went to colleges to get degrees to run nonprofits. So these people, they have friends in the Democratic Party that give them these inside bids on contracts. So people, the contractors are just ripping the government off there. All these nonprofits, it's like these people are living high on the hog, spending $74,000 per homeless person down there, giving all the money away to the corrupt cronies. This is the way you do business. This is the swamp. And this is why they're failing, because they're completely incompetent. Because everything that they do is based on demographics, right? Because their birth rate is near only child. Like the conservatives' birth rate are above replacement rate, but their birth rate is very low. So when you average them out, it looks like we have a birth rate below replacement. But really, these are the liberals. They have most of them are mentally ill. They have like all kinds of most of them live in big cities. These cities are not livable because there's too many people and because of the corrupt, incompetent government. But instead of fixing the problems to make the cities livable so that the people there, their families grow, they open up the borders and they bring in millions of immigrants to just replace you so that they can keep their voting numbers up relative to the growing conservative rural population. This is when they say great replacement. They're not replacing the conservatives. They're not. No. They're replacing the liberals in the city that aren't providing them with enough babies for the Democrats to maintain their multi-hundred-year power control over Congress. They have all of the levers of power in Congress manipulated. They know when they have to switch sides to let the Republicans win so that it's not all them winning. The people who are in control know these things. They know them because they run businesses. I know these things because I run a business. And from running a business, you know you have to look at the demographics of your customer. And when I examined the demographics of the Democratic Party, well, it was like a clown show. It was like you pulled over a clown, like one of those really small cars, and then 20 clowns just start popping out of the car, like, pew, pew, pew. And then next thing you know, like these Communist Party members just popping up, and they're like you got like people looking like Che Guevara. You know, they got like a bag, like some bags of dope and like some strange sex toys in there. Some books on like Kamala Harris's book, and they got books on trans. It's like it's like this is too strange to even be reality. This is why I think we're in a computer simulation. This is why I started the Church of Infinite Simulations. It's a group of people that we believe we're in a supercomputer, and so we theorize methods of how the supercomputer works. I'm a AI engineer, so I've got variety of technologies I'm working on, and then theories as to how this supercomputer came about. But anyways, let's get on to the headlines. I've been going on for a while. I'm so tired of seeing these open borders run by the cartels bringing in millions of human trafficking victims, and they're bringing in thousands of child sex slaves. Like the children that they're bringing across the border, a large percentage of them are human trafficking victims. The Biden administration is bringing in thousands of child sex slaves, bringing in enough fentanyl to kill everybody in the country. bringing in enough immigrants that from the cartel, cartel human trafficking victims, that we're creating a narco state, right? It's like, it's clown world. So this is why you should take the clown pill. I'm highly advising you, because you can either take the black pill, or you could take the red pill and then bliss out and be completely ignorant, or you could take the clown pill and join me on RSS commentary and just talk hella shit about these people and make fun of them. And then, you know, at least when the ship goes down, we could at least say we had our middle fingers up and the videos were hilarious. So here, let's move on. All right. So what am I doing? This is the first time that I've done this show in this format. Obviously, my timer is not working. It keeps resetting when I go to this page. So, I'm going to read the news headlines, and it's going to be kind of quiet. And then I'm just going to put in some commentary every once in a while. And the show, it'll just start with a monologue. And I'll try to keep an eye on the chat. It's hard to do the show and keep an eye on the chat, but if you do have anything interesting to say, where is it? I can pull up the chat here for us to chat. But yeah, go grab some coffee. I got my coffee. Again, I am the captain, Cale McCollough, and thank you very much for joining me on this journey of enlightenment through the RSS feeds. RSS feeds are the news feeds that they put out all these news articles on. So I used to think all these journalists were legit. This was like not fake news. And then over the years, after I became aware of the history of the Democrats and the clickbait tactics these journalists use, I discovered this stuff's fake news. Most of the stuff's like clickbait advertisements. So watch out. You have been warned. All these news organizations are going to be NewsGuard certified, so they're known as legit news, but you still find a whole bunch of bozo stuff. Like, they got a bunch of crazy liberals working for them that are spewing out like critical race and gender theory, and they got all kinds of really just downright deceptive clickbait tactics. Lauren Boebert, I think this Lauren Boebert woman is sexy. Honestly, like, that's like the definition of a woman right there, if you ask me. Oops. What I want. Alright, letter. It says U.S. achieved 0 in Afghanistan. I'm not really exactly sure if you could say the United States government accomplished 0 in Afghanistan. They did actually make the contractors extremely wealthy, and 90% of the money was repatriated to the United States. So you gotta give it up to them for how deceptive they are and how corrupt they are. I mean, that's really something they achieved. They achieved the next level of corruption. Seattle shootings. Man kills attempted robber suspect. 2 others wounded in a separate incident, police say. Alabama fans allegedly threatened to kill Miami fan over diss track. 1 alcoholic drink raises risk of irregular heartbeats, study says. CNN's Jake Tapper quickly reminded of liberal network scandals after tweet on higher standards at Jeopardy. Higher standards at Jeopardy. Oh. A dishonest app. Simple BS. Louisiana police chief says town was hit harder by Ida than Katrina. Oh, is there that hurricane's going on right now? We see over the seas over here in the RSS commentary, the waters are nice and calm. So if you do get motion sickness, you probably will be doing okay. So don't forget to smash that like, oops, wrong screen. Don't forget to smash that like button, that subscribe button. Don't forget to share the video and comment down below, especially commenting down below. That part's important. We do got a bunch of cool videos. There is a snowflake trigger warning in effect, though, for everyone who might get triggered by the videos. You don't want to click on any of these. Associated Press picks Julie Pace to serve as top editor. CDC tells unvaccinated Americans to not travel Labor Day weekend. Fury over belly dance performance at Russian school for children as young as 7. Afghan refugees reveal horror journey facing those the West left behind. Scale of long COVID in children, nothing like initially feared. This is from the Daily Mail. It says the University College London research of almost 7,000 youngsters aged 11 to 17 found 14% had 3 or more persistent symptoms 3 months later. So I've had COVID symptoms for a long time. I just went on to go see my a plane ride to go see my sister in Kansas City. I'm in Eugene, Oregon, and I was the only one that was not wearing a mask because I believe in natural selection. I put my life in God's hands, and there's a significant birth rate drop from the COVID restrictions, the mask mandates, and people's overreactions. And this is causing more children to not be born than there are COVID deaths. So I personally believe that natural selection is superior and that evolution cannot occur without death before reproduction. So it's like the flu vaccine is only 15% effective. There's still no cure for inadequate immune system, right? You don't want to be like domestic house cats that they're pretty but they got bad genes. This isn't what you want. You'd rather be ugly with good genes than pretty with bad genes. Or, I don't know, maybe some people would prefer to masturbate. I don't know. From the BBC, Zambian president Hitchamilla inherits empty treasury. Hurricane Ida left Louisiana island uninhabitable, damaged every building. Yeah, be nice if Biden didn't have the borders open so that we didn't have a flood of millions of migrants during the hurricane. Louisiana, that's right next to the border, right? They got floods of migrants all over there. Now, to be fair, never mind, I'm going to avoid the sidetrack. I can't do that on this show. From Fox News, what to watch on Fox News Nation. Sorry. Totally wasn't a story. Clickbait, advertisements. You got to put up with those. From the Daily Mail, dozens of medical tattooists dress as giant inflatable breast outside of Facebook HQ. Here we can see the women in these ridiculous costumes that are like giant inflatable breasts. I much prefer the topless protests. Maybe we should protest for more topless protests. If anybody supports this notion, if you could please just drop a comment down below. Stalker left disturbing lipstick messages on wall of OnlyFans model before killing her and himself. Oh, God. Another beta male strikes again. This is the problem with this OnlyFans website, is that it creates these simps. So what's a simp? What's a beta male? Beta male is a man that the women don't want, who is a simp to women. These men are often feminist males. So this guy it's like he paid for sex. He's paying for contact with this woman because he's not getting that from the other women in his life. And then he'll blame people as for why he's not getting laid. So this is the fundamental problem with these people, and why you should talk to your male friends about not being a beta male feminist, because they're violent, they lash out, they can't be trusted. I've tried to talk sense into a number of these beta male simps when they're being all whiny and butthurt about women. And what happens is you tell them that they're being a butthurt, whiny loser, and then they get all upset about it. And then they start saying, oh, you're just part of that patriarchy of people that oppresses women, and you're just a bad person, you just hate people. You're part of this like far right group of misogynists that you just use women. You're not as good as me. You're not like a feminist. I am the white knight who treats the women like men. I treat them equally, so that therefore makes me better than you. And then when they don't get their way, then they start getting violent. They start looking at videos on the internet of how to get with women, and they watch all these videos about how bad these women are acting, who are getting all this attention from these men, and then they turn into murderers. That's the fundamental problem. I think this OnlyFans site is toxic. I think all of these people selling sex, making overt displays of sexuality in front of children, they're perverts who are causing irreparable damage to our families. And I think we got to put the boot down. Hiker 32 dies from suspected heat stroke in Utah Zion National Park. YouTube starts to require credit card or ID to vote at the age in EU. Patriots bill Blychick ends speculation over Cam Newton's release. Backpage kingpins go on trial, and sex workers may pay the price. Apple announces first states to adopt driver's license and IDs in Apple Wallet. How narcissists climb the career ladder quickly. I'll tell you how narcissists climb the career ladder quickly. So narcissists are oftentimes focusing mostly on themselves. And they get really upset when other people take the spotlight away from them or challenge their position in the dominance hierarchy. Because they're a narcissist. So they work through exclusion. They work through being really nice to you, making you like them because they're narcissistic because they're in love with themselves. So they want you to like them. So they will draw you in and they will give you lots of compliments. And then they'll exploit your weaknesses and your vulnerabilities. So if they know that they can shame you in a certain way, to manipulate you, to behave in a certain way, they will. If they know that they can kick you out and then they can take the power, so it increases their ego, then they will do that. This is why these people are fundamentally toxic. You got to recognize that wolves wear sheep's clothing and that you cannot trust people just because they are wearing good-looking clothes. Area close to where family were found dead closed due to unknown hazards. Afghans form huge queues outside of banks as economy teeters on the brink. You know, I mean, the Taliban might have taken over, but you gotta ask yourself the question, for real, I mean, how much of a threat are these people? I mean, they're like cavemen from the 8th century. Like, they put burqas over their women, and the women just let them do it. They, like, rape little boys over there in public. I mean, you're dealing with a messed up society. I mean, it would just crumble and collapse without us. So Biden will have an excuse then to send his cronies from the military-industrial complex back in there so the contractors can continue raiding our government with these endless wars. As kids head back to class, Bennett says no guarantees. Schools will stay open. Almost 150 American university students have made it out of Afghanistan. Well, congratulations. Congratulations, Biden. And you almost got all the kids that you left in Afghanistan out. Maybe you should have stayed for a few extra weeks and not been so rigid with your deadline so you can get the photo op for your campaign. Stainless steel fragments found in Moderna vaccine shot. That's the thing, is like these vaccines are like, really, vaccines are for old people and people who got their tubes tied and weren't going to breed anymore. Because if you get enough people, old people, with the vaccines, then you can still have herd immunity. It'll just be a natural selection, would be culling the herd naturally, like nature does. And then people would have better immune systems, so you would be less likely to die because your genes aren't being degraded from many generations of vaccines, eliminating natural selection, preventing evolution from occurring. That is detrimental. And then, you know, every once in a while you're going to get stuff like this where you got metal fragments. You really want people to, like, inject metal fragments into your body? Former Afghan minister, woman fearful but walking the streets here. Let's save this one. Obviously, we need to save this one. Biden pressured Ghani to create perception Taliban weren't winning. Really? I mean, really? Really? We're living in clown world. This is clown world. At least 27 California students, a 3-year-old boy still stranded in Afghanistan. Ahead of Hurricane Ida, Mississippi police find goat, dog, and car abandoned in an empty bank. Raffle wins $30 million contract to provide naval warfare systems in Southeast Asia. Headstone for long-forgotten black cantor unveiled in New Jersey cemetery. Israel's Playtika buys Finnish design entertainment firm Reworks for $600 million. Only Murders in the Building episode 2 reveals who Tim Cano is and hints at his killer. Militants get a death sentence for killing a gay rights activist who worked for USAID. A Bangladesh anti-terrorism tribunal sentenced 6 Islamic militants to death in a brutal slaying of 2 men, including a prominent gay rights activist, 5 years ago, lawyer said. New Orleans imposes new curfew to prevent crime in wake of Ida. From Hacker News, how I re-over-engineered my home network for privacy and security. Still haven't figured out where I should stick my VPN. I could run the VPN on my open source DDWRT router. Or I could try to conceal my IP address. I think it's useful to conceal your IP address because people can hack your network. Your internet service provider does not have it does not update your IP address very often, so using a VPN can protect you in that way. Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz trade expletives on social media. Just 3 in 10 voters back Biden's Afghan withdrawal that left 13 service members dead. It just utterly shocks me how the black people vote for Democrats, because the Democrats owned the slaves and they started the KKK and they were opposed to the women's suffrage, and they started the Korean and Vietnam Wars, and they did forced sterilization and eugenics. And then you got the black people are voting for Democrats because they did that Civil Rights Act. I personally think that Civil Rights Act is unconstitutional because the Democrats really did designed that so that they could hoodwink the black people. It wasn't designed. First off, people have freedom of association and free speech. So they're putting down, they're institutionalized anti-racism and feminism, and then the reason why they were doing it was so that the Democrats could get the black people to vote for them. And then they used the affirmative action to maintain their power struggle. It's like they tricked them with it. Legal challenge launched against Dr. Kerry Chant and Brad Hazard over NY public health orders after Italy requires vaccines to catch a train, anti-vax passport protesters to block railway. Yeah, the vaccine passport's pretty whack. The liberals in Europe are crazy. I don't know why. And then Australia, don't forget about those wingnut liberals in Australia. Those people are crazy, dude. UK children being given antidepressants in record number, up to 22% in 5 years. Sorry, up 22% in 5 years. Saved me and my family, Afghan interpreter who saved Joe Biden in 2018 left behind. An Afghan interpreter who reportedly helped rescue then Senator Joe Biden and 2 other senators in 2008 when their helicopter abruptly landed in a snowstorm is now calling on China Joe to help get their family that they left behind out of Afghanistan so they don't get killed. Hollywood throws weight behind Gavin Newsom as fight for governor fight recall election. Sorry. Hollywood throws weight behind Gavin Newsom as California governor fights recall election. The other screen. Inequity, interest rates, aging, and the role of central banks. There's a lot of inequity. There's this. Let's see. How do we do that? The share of the wealth of the bottom 50% of people used to be about 13.6% when I was a child. Now it's down to 5.6%. So the older generation has a lot of money. Their assets evaluated, and then everybody below the age of 40, they all share 5.6% of the country's money, which is dangerous because it leaves the older generation vulnerable to having their savings wiped out by inflation. And there's people out there with just way too much money, but we got to deal with, I don't know what to say about that, because look at don't go based off of whatever you think is fair or not. Like put your money where your mouth is. What does the government need when they hire somebody to do some sort of massive contract like the Amazon cloud contract for the intelligence community? I think that's like a huge budget, like billions of dollars on that budget for all their IT stuff. So they're looking for the biggest company that can provide them with the best deal. So you do have to kind of put your money where your mouth is. You can't talk too much smack about the ultra rich. But I think we could do a better job of getting money in the hands of the young people. But it's kind of like the money's gone into certain people's hands and then it sits in a bank and it doesn't do anything. And so that kind of stuff is just bad for the economy. It's not beneficial to allow inflation and various disasters to wipe out all of our savings. We want it to be in the bank of people, and because it's like a freight train that's moving. So the bank, you can imagine that once the freight train gets going, when all the people get money, and there's not like this disparity in money and bottlenecks, that freight train is a lot harder to stop. Chicago police officer Ela French, one of two brothers charged to appear in court after slaying cop's 30th birthday. Groom surprises stepdaughters with adoption proposal at wedding. Jack Nicklaus predicts whether Tiger Woods will play golf again. Afghan YouTuber 20 who chronicled vibrant life recorded goodbye video days after she was killed. Mark Hobbs shows hair regrowth, says he feels terrible after chemotherapy. Strong winds, low humidity push Candor fire closer to Lake Tahoe. Piers Morgan cleared by media regulator for Meghan Markle's comments. I don't know, man. So that was 1 hour's worth of news. I'm sorry you're putting up with a little bit of a test right now of how I'm going to run this show. I'm at 52 minutes. So already I'm like running out of time. I've only done an hour worth of these headlines. I think I have to like not announce the headlines. It's kind of like a test. I kind of need to star them as soon as possible. So I think I'm gonna go without announcing anything and just kind of experiment. Start this one. Jen Psaki insists the U.S. will evacuate abandoned Afghan interpreter who rescued Biden in 2018. From the Hill, another Florida county approves mask mandate in defiance of DeSantis. Those mask mandates irritate me because it abridges your free speech. It's nanny state. You're asking people to reduce their birth rate through these lockdown restrictions. You want them to sacrifice their children in order to save old, immune-compromised, and fat people. I think that is just deplorable. That's despicable. You're putting an old, immune-compromised, or a fat person's life above a healthy baby, and that's the actions of a monster who only thinks of themselves. Save this one. With prices surged to $1,500 out of South Lake Tahoe as Caldor Fire closes in. You'll notice in these RSS feeds, a lot of this stuff is just like comments that somebody said. It's just clickbait. Thief was crushed to death under a BMW trying to steal a catalytic converter. Woo! How do we do that? Okay. Here, let me adjust the setting real quick. What's my frame rate? I'm at 18 frames a second. I'm probably going to chunk for a second. Instant regret. Well, it seems like the video is still running. My computer's froze up. I can't really do too much till it loads all these things. I'm gonna apologize for the delay. Still waiting on this thing. I clicked the settings button. I could add a hotkey. And then it froze up. Oh, man. Hey, I got it. Alright, sorry about that. This is the first time I'm doing this kind of show. Obviously, the announcing the headlines isn't going to work. Thanks for putting up with me. Here's the Hill shilling for Joe Biden here. It says majority favors U.S. troop withdrawal from Afghan, poll. Well, no crap. That's because everybody wanted them to pull out. The problem is how they pulled out. The problem is that Joe Biden bungled everything up. A bunch of people died. And the Taliban took over and took billions of dollars worth of our military hardware. Now they're one of the most well-armed military forces on the planet. Actually, I think most people would say that if you ask them, would you prefer if we left a military base in Afghanistan, they would have said yes. No idea how I select it. From the Daily Mail, Royal Navy chief gropes female soldier's bottom while on HMS Albion. Court martial hears. What do I do? All right, let me announce that again. I got an idea. From the Daily Mail, Royal Navy chief groped female soldier's bottom while on HMS Albion. Court martial hears. Able seaman Oscar Cummings. Well, that is one hell of a name. Seaman Omar Cummings allegedly grabbed her by the pussy from behind while a group of sailors drank on HMS Albion. A court martial at Bulford Military Court in Wiltshire heard. Wait, I gotta re-record this. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna automate my show because I can't pick out. I can't comment on every article. It's physically impossible. There's so many. There's hundreds of them. I have to get through all of them, and so I'm gonna record these things. Just the headlines, and then I'm going to automate the show and then read a couple of stories and then automatically slip these things in the video, so I could just copy and paste the screenshot out of here. This Royal Navy chief groped female soldier's bottom. Take out the grab her by the pussy part because that was, not really related to this. It was the bottom. And then I can put up different backgrounds and stuff. Alright. From the Daily Mail, Royal Navy chief groped female's bottom. Sorry, I messed up. From the Daily... Can I? No. From the Daily Mail, Royal Navy chief groped female sailor's bottom while on HMS Albion. Court martial hears. Able seaman Omar Cummings, a person with a very sexual name, allegedly grabbed the woman from behind while a group of sailors drank on HMS Albion. A court martial at Bulford Military Court on Wiltshire heard. Alright. I'm going to just say the story and then grab the audio. Okay. What is this story? Bristol man 45 dies after suffering allergic reaction when he was stung by a wasp while guarding. I mean, I don't understand how this made it in the news. Maybe it's because they're wanting to profit off the man's death. Maybe it's because people usually don't die from wasps. I'm not sure. from Newsweek, children should be taught in philosophy in school. Opinion. I would have to agree with that. The critical thinking is absolutely not there. People need to be shown how they believe kooky stuff. I took a 300 level philosophy class, critical thinking. And I also took another one that was AI philosophy. And they were very difficult. It was from Peter Boghossian. His name's spelled like Boghossian. And he doesn't like it when you say that. But he's very famous for sending in these, he trolled the major science publications. He put in some junk research papers, and the editors don't really proofread the stuff. They don't really have the expertise to know what is real and not. So they're kind of sloppy with their editing, and a lot of junk goes through. So he trolled them, and he put in a fake research paper, and he got in a lot of trouble, but he kind of proved the point. The school said it was a fraud, and I think they were going to suspend him or something. Those people probably were heavily invested in the publications that Peter debunked. Damn it. Well, that didn't work. Lasted all about 30 seconds. All over the place. It's on the TV. Alright. Still cleaning, I'm sorry. Gotta get the coffee out the TV. Well, this video is a waste. This table's not sturdy at all. Whoa! This dude can change his pupil size on command. From Hacker News, man can change his pupil size on command. Once thought an impossible feat. From The Hill, U.S. Navy helicopter crashes in ocean near San Diego. One crew member from the U.S. Navy helicopter that crashed into the ocean near San Diego has been rescued, and a search is underway for other crew members, military officials told Fox ... From the New York Post, Pope Francis mistakenly quotes Putin while ripping West's involvement in Afghanistan. Pope Francis ripped the West's 20-year involvement in Afghanistan and mistakenly quoted Russia's President Vladimir Putin in the process. Okay, so from Newsweek, woman forced to wait more than 2 days at hospital ER amid COVID surge. COVID cases and hospitalizations have been rising across the U.S. over the past 2 months due to the spread of the Delta variant. But the deaths aren't rising. Thing about this Delta variant is it's very transmissible, but it's not as deadly. But since it's more transmissible, it's like chickenpox. Yeah, all of these viruses can be very dangerous to people. Like any of these viruses, I personally think that we should go for the herd immunity, or the natural immunity, natural selection. It's my own philosophical belief on it. Two days. Well, I don't know what to say about this because here. Wait a minute. I'm gonna redo this. Shows a little bit of an experiment today. I gotta figure out how to take I gotta figure out how to make this show cool. From Newsweek, astronomers spot growing double supermassive black holes in infant universe. Using NASA's Chandra X-ray telescope, researchers have observed two supermassive black holes that existed when the universe was just 2 billion years old. from Hacker News. I have decided to stop supporting my family's non-Linux devices. Alright, so what do I want to do? Okay, so I need to... trying to make this show interesting. So I think what I'm going to do is save the articles for later, because I don't want to edit this video. I just want it to, like, hopefully just be like a record of whatever the headlines were for that day. Do it for an hour a day and then get through more of these articles. So I'm at 4:30. I started at 6. It's 1.5 hours of news articles. So if this was, I mean, this is very slow. I'm gonna go faster. From The Hill, a 6-week abortion ban goes into effect in Texas. A Texas bill banning virtually all abortions after a heartbeat is detected, which can occur as few as 6 weeks, went into effect at midnight on Wednesday after the Supreme Court did ... From Newsweek, Texas website urges people to report anyone having an abortion after 6 weeks. A new law that prohibits abortions once a fetal heartbeat can be detected took effect in Texas on September 1st. I personally would say that definitely can be construed as murder. Not sure whether or not we need to be decreasing the West population given the liberals' birth rates and their own children. I mean, the liberals are just they're committing suicide, basically. Their birth rate is so low, and they keep saying it's these bad conservatives who are worried about white genocide, that they're going to replace their population, when it turns out that the truth was more along the lines that that it's the liberals with the low birth rate and the conservatives have high birth rate, and the Democrats are trying to replace their own voters to make up for the demographic change, which is kind of ironic because it's like they gotta, they kept making us sound like we're such bad people because people brought up birth rates, and then it turns out the people most affected by are the liberals. So if you do actually find any people breaking this abortion ban, you should actually turn them in because it's murder. Over 100 men are stranded on a drill ship in Gulf during Ida. No rescue in sight. Crying in the hallway. This is from Fox News. From the Daily Mail, antibodies are declining. Yeah, shoot, hold on. All right. Logistical problem. My monitor's over there, so if I want to like save an article, I can't just like start it because I can't see. I just like look over there. From Daily Mail, antibody levels are declining in over 80s, official data shows. England's large surveillance study about antibody levels had dipped 0.2% in the age. What am I going to do? Okay, so what am I going to do? Okay, so I want... I want to chop these videos up and like make an automated video of the headlines. So I have to go back. What do I have to do? Maybe I'll stop this live stream because I bungled it up. What do I need to do? I need to figure out something. If anybody has any ideas for how I can make this show automated. Maybe I could just like reread the headlines. What am I going to do? Okay, so this is what I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to chop off everything after the monologue. Okay, so got to be able to do a monologue and make it entertaining and then be able to get people in the chat. And I need to have it set up so that something's automated so I can get because I'm just one man, not like I'm trying to like not put in the extra work or something. You know, I've been doing that and it's like an endless amount of work. It's like you gotta do some tricks. This is why there's so much fake news out there, because there's just so much news out there. It's like hard to cover everything. So you got to be able to grow, or else what's the point of doing it at all? And you also have to maintain journalistic ethics and standards, show a diversity of news sources. So maybe because I feel like I'm like this is like a service that I'm doing for humanity. I'm just kind of like reading these things for you. Because most people would be too lazy to know to do it themselves or not know where to look. Okay, so I can put out 2 videos a day. So I can do this one. I'm gonna make it more entertaining next time. I bungled everything up, but I have a new computer coming in, so we'll get better frame rate. Right now, you're like 18 frames a second. So we can do this with a monologue at the beginning, and then try to go through the headlines as quick as possible. And then I could put out another video of the top news headlines. So then the videos that you would get would be, so that, because I'm trying to keep it entertaining, I gotta give you value. I can't just like occupy your time without giving you anything. You're already, I'm occupying your time right now. I apologize. I don't know. This is the first time I've done this setup, so this is an experiment, and I'm trying to figure everything out to make it, useful for you and for me, because, I don't want to put out crap. I don't want to waste my time on stuff. I don't want to put out fake news. Can't really put out, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read through the rest of the things, the news articles. I might even, restart. Probably won't restart. I think I'm just going to, sacrifice this one to the news gods. And then after this, then I'm going to do the top news headlines, which is pretty much, and then I can do individual stories later on in the day, but I have to go to work as soon as possible. From news. One that says just news is the Telegraph. From the Telegraph, double child killer Colin Pitchfork released from prison. From the Daily Mail, Australia's state premiers are given a deadline for when they must open up borders. From the Daily Mail, 40 cops disciplined for getting paralytic at the Paralympics. The officers were members of a special security unit from Yamanshani Prefecture sent to Tokyo to provide backup to local police at Venus or sorry, at venues and to control traffic during the games. From Newsweek, clickbait about Donald Trump. It says the king of memes wanted to fund Arizona audit. Text message suggests former President Trump campaign official Jeff DeWitt said he was not referring to the former president specifically. Not sure why that's exactly news. From the Daily Mail, girl 12 who took her own life after being groomed, raped, and bullied, quote, will never be forgotten, end quote. Samina Hollowell, 12, died on June 12th after months of torment following her rape in Southport, Merseyside. Her mother, Rachel, shared videos of her daughter being punched, ... From the Daily Mail, how Hitler's attack on German Gleiwitz radio station led to World War II. And okay, so I've covered this one a lot. This Gleiwitz incident is insane. You should look this up. If you don't know about Gleiwitz, this is one of the most fascinating things in the world, actually. There's a parallel history that you don't know about World War II that wasn't discovered until they discovered the secret history of this Gleiwitz incident. It was a false flag operation. Hitler was working with Stalin. The communists were working with the fascists to overthrow the Social Democratic Party. It was run by which they characterized. I don't want to say it was run by because I think that's mischaracterization due to their propaganda. But the head of the Democratic Socialists is Bernie Sanders. He's a Jew, and the Nazis painted the Jews as all that was bad with capitalism in a disinformation campaign to where they were intentionally provoking racism, anti-Semitism. I don't believe that's racism. That's it's like Islamophobia. And they utilized that, like Hitler had they was working with a cabal of people who were starting World War II. It was predestined, and they utilized this propaganda from the Russian communist, from what was that book called? Protocols of the Elder Zion. And they utilized the racial hatred to get people to overthrow the government. So that was the ploy, by attaching all that is bad with capitalism with the Jews. And so the anti-Semitic propaganda was coming from the communists. Most people think it was the Nazis that are the anti-Semites, and the communists are the good guys that saved the Jews because they helped us defeat Hitler, quote unquote. There's another theory that they tricked us into fighting in World War II so they could kill as many people as possible to bankrupt the world's economy, to overthrow as many governments with communism as possible. There's actually really, really, really strong evidence that supports this theory. But this Gleiwitz incident, this thing's a hootenanny. I mean, it's a real hootenanny. On August 31st of 1939, a team of SS troops crept into the then German city Gliwice and attacked its radio tower above the corpses of the German prisoners dressed to look like Polish saboteurs. It was a false flag, and we didn't know about it. And it's because Stalin was controlling everything. Stalin was a lot more powerful than you think. Stalin had spies in the White House. Joseph McCarthy, he was spot on. He was not crazy. He was not overreacting with McCarthyism. There were spies in the White House. It's a historical fact. Look it up. From the Daily Mail, Pfizer and Moderna's vaccine effects on hospital admission drops over time. Research by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said the lower threshold only applied to people aged 75 and over. It's just like the flu, you know, like it's going to help you right now. But in the end, it's like the flu vaccine is only 15% effective. There's no real actual substitution for a working immune system, and natural selection, it really doesn't actually have any other solution. You can't just like use vaccines to create an artificial immune system that keeps us dependent on these vaccines. It's like it was a bad idea. And people want to hold on to it from this idea that they're going to save lives, but in the end, it turns us into domestic house cats, because we're just like how domestic house cats, they look really pretty, but then they have all these genetic problems because they don't have natural selection culling the herd, and that it can be corrected when feral cats through natural selection. Cats tend to be a lot smarter, a lot more healthy. They reproduce faster, and that's because natural selection tends to favor the path of least parasites and most reproduction. It's the nature of evolution. From the Hill, progressives breathe sigh of relief after Afghan withdrawal. Progressives are relieved over the end of the U.S. military involvement in Afghanistan, praising Joe McHugh Biden's commitment to halting the forever war, even as the ... That's the message that they're portraying this as, is he was just committed to halting the forever wars. It was a photo op. The dude literally got a bunch of people killed and devastated our ability to strike in that region for a photo op. From Newsweek, Piers Morgan cleared by TV regulators over Meghan Markle suicide comments. He did not breach UK media rules by saying he did not believe Meghan Markle's account of feeling suicidal, a UK regulator ruled. From Newsweek, quote, constant desire for an exit strategy paradoxically prolonged the intervention in Afghanistan, says author. I'm going to have to push back on this article. Constant desire to loot Uncle Sam of as much money as the defense contractors can make? Are those actually what prolonged the intervention in Afghanistan? From Newsweek, Biden called press leaks by General McChrystal in Afghanistan effing outrageous, says new book. Biden has supported reducing troops on the ground for years, advising President Barack Hussein Obama to limit involvement there back in 2009, even as Hussein Obama's generals were recommending and ... I'll be right back. Right. Okay, I'm only at 3 a.m. I've gotten only 3 hours worth of these headlines through, so I gotta up the speed. From the Daily Mail, only 1/3 of councils in England offer to house Afghan refugees needing homes after fleeing the Taliban. The ministers today admitted only around 100 councils, a third of the total 333 authorities in England, have so far come forward to help families find homes under the ... From Newsweek, Ron DeSantis faces lawsuit to make Florida COVID data public amid Delta surge. The lawsuit claims Florida Department of Health has violated public record laws at time of rising COVID cases in the state. I personally would agree with that. There's too big of a delay in reportings of the deaths, and this is not good. People are going to start spreading false claims based on observed death rates that are not accurate. From the Daily Mail, Taliban Air Force jihadists seize up to 48 aircraft with more arsenal firepower than NATO members. Over the past few months, the jihadists have seized 10 major air bases from Bagram to Mazar-i-Sharif, posed for pictures with $6 million Blackhawks, even taken to the air in a ... Daily Mail, we could see the moment that this gas station attendant smashes an entire bottle of red wine over the customer's head. From Newsweek, Taiwan, Japan urged to stand together as China threat prompts security talks. A Taiwanese official says the ruling party did not hesitate when invited to hold unprecedented security talks with Japan to discuss mutual concerns over the Chinese Nazi Party attaining to gain hegemony over the South China Sea area. From Hacker News Best, Rugby: head impact study shows cognitive decline after just one season. From Fox News, From Fox News, judge recuses after reversing order barring unvaccinated mother from seeing son. X-Files emergency motion. From Newsweek, since 9/11, U.S. Muslims have gained unprecedented political and cultural influence. Despite ongoing quote-unquote Islamophobia, American Muslims are having a moment. As one Muslim sportscaster put it, everywhere I look, I see first happening. I'm not a big fan of Islam. Their false prophet owned slaves, raped women, killed Jews and Christians, and he had a 6 to 9 year old child bride named Aisha, Aisha. Look it up. The guy was a legit pedophile. Not really interested in their barbaric religion. I think it should go the way of the dodo birds. Jesus is way cooler. From the Hill, Biden to talk Russia anti-corruption with Ukraine President. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky is finally getting his meeting with the White House on Wednesday after President China Joe Biden, the one who is the crackhead Hunter Biden's father, the one that was getting those millions of dollars from the Ukrainian energy firm Burisma in order to buy access to the White House. They're getting their wish, and they're finally getting their what they paid for. From the BBC, air pollution may reduce life expectancy of Indians by 9 years, says study. Millions of North India faced the most extreme levels of air pollution in the world, the reports say. Yep. Well, there's nothing we can do about global warming. They need to stop. From Fox News, USA Gymnastics eyes $425 million settlement with survivors. They are in their final stages of the legal fallout over the Larry Nassar sex abuse scandal. Newsweek, white supremacist ordered to read Dickens, Shakespeare to avoid jail. Ben John, 21 of England, London, has been convicted of downloading right-wing documents, but was given a suspended sentence. Right-wing documents. I mean, come on. Okay, so that is just so disingenuous. This is just this is fake news. He was convicted of downloading bomb-making instructions. That's not like right-wing. That's just so disingenuous to try to tie that to the right wing is by definition just like the people who are in power currently. I mean, the guy's trying to make a bomb does not support the people who are the current social hierarchy, obviously. From Fox News, U.S. troops who fought in Afghanistan can hold head up high. Letter from top military officials say the service members who fought in Afghanistan for over the past 20 years to make the defense contractors rich can hold their head up high for preventing an attack on the U.S. homeland, according to the letter posted ... Really? Really? I mean, this is just insane. So, there was just a terrorist bombing that killed 119 people. I saw another report that it was 170. I don't know which one was true. I don't really think that you could say that that they prevented an attack on the U.S. homeland. Well, yeah, I mean, technically they prevented an attack on the homeland. I don't think that's going to last for very long. Whoa! From Newsweek, Texas abortion ban allowed by Supreme Court in huge blow to Roe v. Wade. Critics of the new law that took effect midnight say it effectively bans abortion in the state of Texas. Well, I say that the liberals can eat it. If the majority of people think that you're killing a human when you're doing that, then that's what you're doing. Our birth rate's really low. So I personally could give a rat's ass less about abortion. Don't really think that we should allow it. If it came between having marijuana and allowing abortion, there's absolutely no question which one I would take. From the Daily Mail, a British father is shot and killed by armed robbers who opened fire on his vehicle in Ghana. This whole idea that Afghanistan was a forever war is really just marketing spin. Let's be real, we got thousands of military bases around the world. Thousands of them. Troops die in training. Like, it's absolutely a normal thing for a bunch of people to die in basic training. This is absolutely normal. Our death rate in Afghanistan was lower than the accidental death rate for like 10 years. I mean, come on. Like, how many millions of employees did the federal government have? You got to look at that. Look at how many troops did they have in Afghanistan? How few of these people died? And what's the percentage chance that these people are going to die from some disease? Really, honestly, Afghanistan was really safe. It was not a war zone. Afghanistan was not a war. The Afghanistan war ended like 10 years ago, dude. These people are lying to you. They're snakes. They're just literally just spinning this. From the Daily Mail, China's war on celebrities, scandal hit stars are deemed, quote, social tumors, and, quote, who must be removed. Well, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much their MO, right? I mean, they've been doing that for a long time, right? From the Daily Mail, Florida diner owner turns away Biden supporters, telling them to, quote, take your business elsewhere, end quote. I mean, it is nice to, like, get some payback for them canceling us, but I don't really think this is really productive for a business. Me personally, for my business, as much as I smack talk Democrats, I don't discriminate against them. Not really necessarily because it's like bad for it's bad for business. You're trying to make money, and it's just not productive. I don't really want to deal with their retribution. From NPR, satellite photos show Louisiana coast is still dealing with major flooding post-Ida. Days after Hurricane Ida hit Louisiana, local officials are still wading through floodwaters and heavy debris in continued efforts to help residents who stayed behind. From the Daily Mail, a video of a Thai tourist loses control of his SUV and almost hits a pedestrian. So if you're new to the live stream, this is an experimental run at this new show. The timer's broken. I blabbed. I was like announcing headlines. I think that was kind of annoying. I don't know if we're going to keep this video. I like the monologue in the beginning, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to star all of these articles, and then I'm going to run through the headlines. So this is kind of like trying to get people to chat. If anybody wants to drop a comment down below, and then you'll be able to find these articles. There's a link down below to my website. So that works to get traffic to my website, and then providing you a service, also promoting for these news agencies. So think, this is value. Let me know how I can offer more value. If we get more people commenting, well, this is a new thing. This show's been shadow banned by YouTube because I am intellectual dark web, and they are trying to determine the market viability of the intellectual dark web through unlawful censorship. It's defamation of character. So it does help. I don't want to say share this video, but this video is kind of actually the monologue at the beginning was good. I think I'm going to chop it off, maybe, because I'm trying to keep these to an hour. We can't really have like multi-hour live streams. Nobody has the time to do that. I don't have the time to sit up here for hours. I'm an engineer, programmer, business owner, so I can't really, I'm limited with what I can do. I can't do this all day. So I think what I'm going to do is put letters on all of the stories. I'm going to post them on the website, and then people will vote for the ones that they want me to comment on, and I'll comment on the one that people want to hear the most about, because that actually kind of makes sense. Here from Newsweek, grandfather beats 12-year-old to death after accusing him of stealing money, says the police. If any kids are watching this, you better watch out. Grandpa might beat you down so hard, you're never going to come back. Don't be stealing, kid. My rules are I don't really do anything that's these speculative, anything that's about a comment somebody said, unless I am personally trying to gaslight myself, which I am not immune to. Intentionally trying to gaslight, I'm not immune to it. Sometimes I'm just like, I see that trigger and I'm like, yeah! From Fox News, San Diego protest outside mayor's home sees gunfire incident, suspect arrested. From Fox News, a Texas school system closes after 2 teachers die of COVID-19. The Central Texas School District, that is controlled by the teachers union, closed its schools after the Labor Day holiday Tuesday after 2 teachers died last week of COVID-19. But because some old and fat persons kicked the bucket, and some people who had immune systems that were unable to fight off the novel virus, now your kids aren't going to get an education, and now they're going to be poor, and your birth rate's going to dip, and then they're going to flood the country with immigrants, and your kids are going to be at the bottom of the social hierarchy in this new world order that the Democrats have created that was not going to happen had it not been for their open border policy of bringing in massive numbers of migrants, the millions, and allowing cartels to take over and flood the country with fentanyl, meth, and heroin. And they're putting the fentanyl in the cocaine. Alright, apologize about the delay. I am still figuring out how I'm supposed to do this show. It's experimental episode. But I will have, if there's anybody watching, I will have a video of all the headlines for you, all the best ones. From the Daily Beast of Fake News. From the Daily Fake News Beast, Fox News fails to disclose that its go-to Afghan expert profits from war. So let me get this straight. If they were gonna go get some expert witness about the military, who do you think would know more about the military? Like somebody who makes money off of the military, or somebody who does not make money off the military? I mean, the person who makes money off the military is going to have a vested interest in knowing these things. So this is just some clickbait trash. From the Daily Fake News Beast, why losing a war won't mean losing an election for Biden. They're already pushing for that Biden 2024 because that's how bad these people are. They don't care if this guy's completely incompetent at all. They just want him to win because he's on their side. That's just how bad these people are. From the Daily Mail, cops hunt man 43 after 2 people are shot dead and 2 more are injured in North Carolina. From the Daily Mail, elderly woman arrested by NSW police as anti-lockdown protesters chant, "Let her go." From the Daily Mail, Taliban says Britons will be allowed to leave Afghanistan. Hacker News, C# for systems programming. I think this one is... Oh, so she was hot. See, this is the problem. They're like, okay, well, some young people died. Okay, so statistically speaking, 50% of the people are fat. Most of them old. Most of the people were either obese or in end-of-life care. And then you got a few of them, a small percent are going to be young people. But the problem is that this woman's immune system, as beautiful as she might be, her immune system was inadequate to battle a novel virus. Her immune system attacked her body until it killed her. So, as much as, the world needs more beautiful women like this, hopefully she didn't have any children. She was 41. If she had kids, they'd probably say it. Natural selection doesn't work without dying for reproduction. That's the problem. It's not cold, it's nature. The other option is that you have multiple generations of people on vaccines, artificially decreasing the death count until our immune system stops working because natural selection has been banned. That's not good. From the Daily Mail, Rikers inmate is charged with attempted murder after leaving guard with a fractured skull. This one. There's an update from Newsweek about the Navy helicopter crash from earlier. One service member has been rescued off the coast of San Diego from the USS Abraham Lincoln. The Republican who freed the slaves. From the Daily Mail, the real reason why Dan Andrews closed playgrounds and had nothing to do with kids spreading COVID. And a man was caught lunging at NBC reporter, is wanted by police, may have violated parole. Sexual assault allegations. I think that this could turn into a cool show. I royally messed everything up today. Okay, if I can get these news headlines, if I could get through them as quickly as possible. So this is going to be a challenge. So what are we at right now? We're at 2:24. What am I going to do? Do I want to start with the head? Okay, so I'm going to bump the monologue. So this show, I have to keep the time down. And I have to keep the offensive comments down to a bare minimum for growth reasons. Not like I don't want to trigger the snowflakes. I want to trigger the snowflakes, and if I don't grow, then I can't trigger the snowflakes. So, I'm going to push the monologue after the headlines on the next show. This show must keep as short as possible, so it makes sense to do that. Like it's shuffling. This is the first show in the sequence. I'm hoping to do every day at 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. because that's the best time for me I'd usually be spending that time reading the news. I'm just trying to keep the setup and the teardown on the show down to a bare minimum, which is extremely difficult. And then, what do we got? And eventually, if I want to do a zoom in, I got this, and then how does that go? Go back here. Go back here. I want to read the browser. I got the browser over here. I got my desktop. That's for FeedLab in full screen. But we're just doing FeedLab in the window. So it's pretty cool. And then, hey, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below so you can get notified whenever I'm going live. And the thumbs up. Don't forget to share this video because that's the best way to grow, even though this video is not my best example. And then comment down below. You could check us out on YouTube to see our... Oh, wait a minute. Didn't that one... I think YouTube pulled this episode down, but there's clips of it that aren't down because they don't contain whatever thing violated their whatever insane rules that they're pushing for the Democrats. Okay. From the Daily Mail, Britain told Afghans to go to the airport gate hours before suicide attack. An Afghan interpreter was saved because he was told by the UK authorities to head to the Abbey Gate, but decided it was madness to go there given the warnings of an imminent ... I don't know if I should star stuff like this. I mean, what do people want to see? I'm trying to figure out what people want to read. From the Daily Mail, at least 32 Californian students remain stranded in Afghanistan. You know, I'm not a big fan of the state of California. I live in Oregon right next door, and the Californians have been flooding up here, bringing their cartel dope, killing my friends with the fentanyl they're getting from China. And they push their BS California politics. But man, this sucks, man. Biden just straight up left those people behind, man. Bunch of kids, dude. Damn. I mean, that's some real shameful stuff. Biden has just wanted a photo op. Remember, kids, don't try to do any of the stuff in China. They'll lock you up. Okay, so this thing, this $150 million machine keeping Morse alive, this is really cool. I'm a Hacker News. Where's that at? I would highly recommend you check this out. It's really, really, really interesting. It's okay, so there's photonic neural nets coming out. These things are like Android brains, and then they got this new crazy small manufacturing process that is like 10 times smaller. This machine is epic. It's so cool. Oh my gosh. Woo! Don't forget to check us out at rsscommentary.com. Sorry, the website doesn't look so good right now because I got a new website coming out with a social network. So, but we do have the stuff up there. Virginia, from the Daily Mail, Virginia Tech disenrolls 134 students who failed to comply with its compulsory mandate, or vaccine mandate. I personally had to write a letter to my engineering school because I got to go take some classes, and they have a mandatory vaccine policy, and I told them I'm suing them because there's a higher rate of children not being born in this country from the combination of the lockdowns and the mask mandates. And also, you got to factor in the miscarriages. Also, too, there's an excess number of deaths beyond the COVID deaths that are unexplained, that appear to be the result of the lockdowns. It's in the number of hundreds of thousands of deaths. So it looks like there's almost a 3-to-1 loss of life ratio. There was 3 lives lost for every life that was killed or that COVID took directly. There was 3 more of these lives that were taken from the lockdown restrictions, and that it restricted, it abridged my right to free speech, because during the periods when the Constitution was written, it was very common for large amounts of people to die from diseases. So they would look at our survival rate, how long we're living, and they would say, you people are crazy, like this is nothing. This is absolutely nothing, like it's like killing very few people. They would be like, how do you people afford to do this stuff? Like, there never in history before have we ever been able to actually do anything like that. You've never been able to afford it. From the Daily Mail, shop prices rise amid driver shortages and global supply chain crisis. Shop prices in Britain rose last month as the national shortage of lorry drivers and disruption to the global supply chain caused by the overreaction to COVID and post-Brexit migration rules starts to hit ... Got a lot of headlines to read. I don't have a time on when. Okay, so what am I trying to do? I'm trying to read articles from 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. the next day. Whatever it says on the app. So that's the news start time. This is not 6 a.m. because I had a bunch of technical errors. I don't know how, like, this might be like 2 in the afternoon on this feed, all these dates. They don't really tell you the time. So I might call it a day pretty soon. Don't really think I necessarily might keep all of this for... I'm trying to, like, keep this down to an hour. From Hacker News, show a Gen : compile for ARM at native speeds in an emulated system. From Times of Israel, Israel extends Gaza fishing zone, lets more workers in despite border riots. From the Telegraph, nearly a third of the world's trees threatened with extinction. Better plant more trees to mitigate global warming. Fox News, Greg Gutfeld, it's impossible for things to go wrong this perfectly. From the New York Post, GOP lawmaker tried rogue rescue mission to Afghanistan, report. Republican congressman attempted to organize a rescue mission to Afghanistan in order to extract American citizens left behind by Joe Magoo Biden and the President Kamala Harris administration and threatened U.S. ... Lindsey Graham claims White House lying about Americans left behind in Afghanistan. From the New York Post. From Fox News, Taliban supporters hold mock funerals with coffins draped with American flags. Photo emerged Tuesday showing Taliban supporters in Afghanistan holding a mock funeral while hoisting coffins draped with flags from the U.S. and NATO and other countries. From Breitbart, watch colon, Boebert claims to impeach Biden, Harris, and Secretary of State Blinken if you can't get them back from vacation. Because Biden is hiding in the basement. From Newsweek, Kevin McCarthy and Marjorie Taylor Greene threaten telecoms not to give data to 1-6 committee. Quote, America was never meant to be a communist country, end quote. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, representative of Georgia, said, quote, but there are tactics that Democrats are wanting to use, end quote. So here's my personal tactic. Next time you go to a place and someone asks you to please wear a mask, what you should say in response is say, oh no, I'm not a member of the Communist Party. And if they say, well, I'm going to have to ask you to leave if you don't put the mask on, then you say, I'm sorry, did you say if I put a communist flag on my face that the communists will leave me alone? And then put the mask on. Turn off this timer. How do I turn this off? Wait a minute. Headlines. This is definitely an experimental intro. What is it? Headlines? All right. Got rid of that one. Hey, don't forget. Smash the like button. Rate up or down. I'm not going to tell you which one. Share the video to your friends. Drop a comment down below. And don't forget, keep safe from the government. From New York Post, 5 missing after Navy chopper crashes off California coast. We already covered this one. Sorry. From NPR, a new report says the COVID recession has pushed Social Security insolvency up by a year. The new projection in this annual Social Security and Medicare trustees reports indicate the program will be unable to pay for full benefits in 2034. You're from Hackers News Best, the art of not taking things personally. From Fox News, Oklahoma congressman allegedly threatens embassy staff while trying to enter Afghanistan, according to a report. From Breitbart, Kanye West Donda album breaks Spotify, Apple Music Records, hit #1 in 152 countries. I'm tired of these masks, dude. From Breitbart, Texas legislature passes election integrity legislation. The Republican-controlled Texas State House and Senate on Tuesday passed final versions of the controversial voter integrity legislation, which the Democrats try to oppose for ... From Fox News, Tucker Carlson, our leaders won't apologize for Afghanistan. Biden doubled down, hides in basement. From Breitbart, man urinates on Dairy Queen counter in protest of mask mandate policy. Coming soon, defecation. From Breitbart, FAIR: Biden's chaotic Afghan migration imports fraud. The government programs that import people from chaotic countries such as Iraq and Afghanistan are riddled with fraud and national security risks, according to a report by the ... From Hacker News, Google's new AI upscaling is amazing. You can see all the details. Alright, I'm going to put a clock somewhere. Anybody has any suggestions for what kind of clock I should use? I'd like to go with some pirate style stuff. Well, I gotta end the show. I missed a meeting.
Yeah, this was supposed to be from 6 to 7 a.m. We had a meeting. I kinda missed it. It's been too long anyway, so that's enough. Hey, thanks for tuning in to the RSS commentary.
I'm gonna go through these headlines in just a little bit as soon as I figure out what I missed and what I'm supposed to do about it. I think I'm just gonna give up on these virtual meetings and I don't know. Anyways, until next time, farewell, sayonara, aloha, peace be with you, and Godspeed in your journeys, friends.